right, welcome to your reading. Let me get things pulled up. Hold on 1 second. Where'd it go? Where did it go? All right. Disappeared on me here. Everything disappeared. The email. What is happening? Okay, there we are. Okay. All right. Gotcha. Just need to reread that email. Why is it not? There we go. No. There we are. All right. All right, I'm gonna flip it to the chart. You know, I'm gonna take my, actually, no. Should I? Sometimes I like to plug this microphone in, but I also like to walk around and stuff when I do readings. Gets my brain flowing a little bit. Maybe I'll just plug it in for a little bit. I can go out on and off. It sounds better, but it's a heavy ass mic. Microphone. Check. Test. Check. Check. All right. All right. Let's get down to it. So, wait, it's the wrong chart. No way. No way. This is a trick. Yeah, it is different. All right, that was very bizarre because the session I had earlier today, she was same degree Scorpio rising as you, 27 degrees, and her moon was 25 degrees. And then she had a fifth house Pisces stellium. It's almost unreal. Literally, it's almost unreal at this point how this happens, how I just have these randomly consecutive similar charts. Like, check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Why did it just hit? Okay, it sounds perfect. Okay, finally. Okay. So, anyways, so yeah, with all that Pisces, all that Scorpio, um, you got the new moon energy, post new moon by about a day, more than a day, but same sign as the new moon in Pisces. So fifth house Pisces, at the end of the day, there's always that level of creative destiny, especially with the vertex right by the sun. The sun is close to Fomalhaut. It's not smack on there, so it's not going to be. I mean, it's around a degree away, half a little bit less than a degree. So that's in the rural stars. That's related to divine imagination, inspiration, divine creativity. It's a quite amazing star. Many artists and highly creative types can have that, which can bring fame. So, but it's really the exact conjunctions within like point 10 that really do something. Point 10, point 15. So, having your sun and moon in the same sign is obviously going to, and we look at the North Node in Sag in the second house. That's interesting. You break everything down and you get back, you understand that there's always a level of warning that goes into um, it's very high risk, high reward with all that Pisces. Starting with the moon, you always have to understand that, with the moon in Pisces, there's a level of alone time that's needed. Like the deepest ideas that the Pisces comes to is alone typically. It's not to say that, like Pisces is highly, like Pisces sun and moon, it's highly, highly, highly linked to it's highly linked to your environment, to your partner, to your friends. They can have a major effect on you. And sometimes like the biggest lesson for someone with like so much Pisces is that first time that they really say no. And you'll know what that means. Boundaries are very hard for Pisces because they see the potential. Double Pisces, and having the Black Moon Lilith in there, having Mercury, you're a sponge, a complete sponge. And that is extremely compassionate person. Someone who sees the potential in people, which makes you, a great, great, great healer. Um, Being a great healer is only possible if someone has, you know, created solid boundaries in their life so that other people are not taking advantage of them. So I've seen so many Piscean, Neptunian sorts fall victim to energy vampires. Now you are very close to your Saturn. You're probably in your Saturn return right now. Where's your Saturn? It's right there. Yeah, you're in it. You're in it. eight Pisces now. So yeah, you're in your Saturn return. So a lot is shifting for you. Saturn's not doing, I mean, it's not doing anything aspect wise, but besides it is squaring your ascendant actually. But still, this is a crucial time in everyone's life, the Saturn return. It's when you become an adult. In ancient times, it's when life started. If I ran the world through astrology, it would be post Saturn return that you actually make the big decisions, that you actually decide what you really want to do. And everything until then would be not like that. It would be kind of experimental, but yeah. Anyways, back to kind of like the everything that revolves around all the Pisces, right? So it's a last sign. So, with Pisces, with that much Pisces, all those planets in Pisces, you know, there's so much to say. And it is very, like I said, very high risk, very high reward. The whole quote, the drug addict and the mystic exist in the same waters. The drug addict drowns while the mystic learns to swim. That's the quote for Pisces. Not that it's either 0 or 100. It's either drug addict or mystic, but we see a lot of Pisces that struggle with substances, and it comes from being Neptunians who, in their sojourns between lifetimes, are used to the realms of perfection, heavenly realms, and they come to Earth, and things are just fucked up. But because they're so used to realms of non-manipulation, realms of, compassion, endless compassion, divine love, they come down here and they want to see the best in people. They want to see things in rose-colored glasses, and then when they're not, it's very disappointing. And they have, two choices, right? Choice one is they learn from their mistakes. They don't shame themselves. Pisces can have lots of shame. They can take on especially Pisces moon can take on a lot of emotions from their parents, from people they grew up with, siblings. They can take on lots of stuff that is not theirs. Their partner, they're chameleons. Pisces is the sign of the chameleon, which has lots of advantages, but also they can lose themselves in people. And they can go for that escape realm. They can go for that realm. They can own up to their shit, and learn to to exit relationships that are no longer good for them. I'm gonna get off this mic here. I need to move around a little bit. So yeah, they can. So yeah, they can try a lot of different things. Um, but at the end of the day, it really does. Yeah, it really does come down to a Pisces truly, 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 and utterly standing strong on on who standing strong on who they are, and it gets so much easier. Like the client I was talking to today live, a similar chart than yours, it was very much her story. I predicted it correctly that um she had just broken up with her long-term boyfriend, and she was starting to really see her North Node journey, right? So for you, your North Node is Sag. So to me, this is the kind of a story where there's been a karmic over reliance on others, And um, you know, in inability or unwillingness or unawareness, whatever it is, you know. Let's see the squares, Moon and Mercury. Yeah. So because of, you know, different self-limiting beliefs, yeah. So because of you know, self-limiting beliefs, um, just different ideas, different ways of thinking that are still with you in this lifetime. Um, and because it is in Pisces, you know, it can relate to um taking on ideas that aren't yours. So it all goes back to this major need for you to spend time alone and to really dial in when you're around people. Let's say you're at your work with friends on a camping trip or a, you know, some kind of time period where you don't get a lot of alone time. It's really important to have this very strong base, and this is also part of this second house north node, to have this really strong ground, right, of who you are and what you represent. Pisces, another thing is that they can lose their identity. So it's really you know, it can be very key for Pisces to be working in a way. Doesn't mean that it has to be their job, but you know, to have their life create, you know, in such a way to where they're working towards something, you know, better than themselves, right? Oneness, so they can feel the oneness with all that is. So because you know the whole thing with Pisces and the fog that Neptune creates is that they can really go in these like because they have so much depth and they're so artistic and so you know, otherworldly, right? um there is a level where they can Pisces can be the ultimate fools that, you know, live completely far away from their true truth. um so for Pisces energy like that, you know, when it's your sun, your moon, your Mercury, um you know, and even your Ceres, it is, you know, the best thing you can do is to be of service in your life and to do something that is a healer, like where you're able to be a healer in some type of way. Am I saying that that's the only way you can live your life? No, I'm not saying that. But do you have Chiron, the sign of the healer, on your midheaven? Yes. Would I be surprised if you were doing something in mental health or, you know, in some or something that, you know, that's related to healing? No. Would I be surprised if you were not doing something at all linked to that, but you had, you know, aspirations to at some point do that, whether, you know, it's an actual career shift or something that you're doing as a passion while you have the moneymaker, and then that passion one day becomes the big thing? No. You know, there's different karmic time, different things for different karmic times. Now, um, so going back to kind of the karmic stuff, you know, there could definitely, despite any negative aspects from the moon, which is very good that you have no negative aspects from the moon. They're all positive, or all not positive. I don't like saying negative and positive. I meant to say they're not difficult. Um, you know, typically that indicates that things with the parents were cool, but I've seen so much in my time. And you have an exact conjunction. Look at that. That's the closest I've ever seen Mercury and the moon. 22.24, 22.25. The moon and Mercury are not known to be so close, but because you had the new moon, that's fucking so dope. This is such a great indicator for psychic intuitive gifts. This is so beautiful. Like imagine how close the moon, point zero one away at the second you were born. Like that is so cool. Um, so yeah. the mind and the intuition are connected. It's like a muscle, though. You have to work it out through meditation, through being in touch with the dream realms. You just got past Neptune being on your moon also, so, and on your Mercury. So you've kind of in the last few years gone through most likely a very like intuitive psychic upgrade that's probably just mind blowing. And maybe some people with don't know what to do with that. I went through the square with my moon, and then it's going to on my Mercury right now and my sun. I'm 28 Pisces, Sun and Mercury. But anyways, yeah. So what I get from this is that there are lifetimes spent in kind of the more of the known world. Like you're here to really find a deeper version of truth. So what I mean by that is that we all have our individual truths that correspond to our individual life purposes and trajectories. If I believe you know one worldview to be true, if I believe in God, if I believe in helping people, if I believe in my metaphysical value, I'm gonna have a lot different of a career and what I deem to be important to do than me if I believe that money is all that matters and spirituality is all bullshit and so forth. So, okay, I'm on for a little bit. So yeah, like basically, you got your Mars up there in Cancer. Okay. Lots of water. Is that a Grand Trine? No, the elemental Grand Trine with the personal plants. But yeah, anyways, so North Node in Sag is asking you to take risks when it comes to traveling, physically or metaphorically, to leave your comfort zone and to fully dive into the unknown. Adventures, different cultures, different teachings, different teachers, and some people who have that, they struggle with the risk that's in there, the idea of kind of leaving the immediate environment is difficult. But it's also about thinking big, and this is very important because with the Mercury squaring your nodes, that's making Mercury a skip step, which is very fascinating that the moon in Pisces is on that Mercury, and the moon is also square the nodes. The moon is a skip step. So Mercury in Pisces, what is the lowest potential there? Not believing in yourself, going for a victim mentality, right? Living in an imaginary world where you run away from pain. There's a lot, like kind of but at the essence, it comes down to surrender and truly looking at reality, truly just accepting what is. But another thing a potential could be believing things about the self that are very self-deprecating and that really limit the self-esteem issues, confusion around the self. There's so much, right? So, and you have a follow in the, most people add the current astrology to follow. So I highly suggest that if you want to have like a longer session where it's the first hour is the follow, you have that already. Then we move into the current astrology. I go through everything: transits, house ingress, progressions, solar arc, solar return. I just do them all. Even just the progressed moon cycle, so much stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just like boundaries and once because like it's all fifth house Pisces, right? So the extremely, I like to sometimes give tips here. So one tip, would be just the importance of, you know, it's just okay to be an asshole sometimes, not an asshole, but it's let me restate that. It's okay to be the bad guy, bad girl sometimes. At the end of the day, saying no is something that needs to be, and being the Scorpio rising is with Pluto rising is giving you a ton of power. Um, People feel, which is so interesting because Pisces sometimes doesn't feel powerful, right? Not that it isn't, it is on a spiritual, compassion, emotional level. And Pisces is so mutable that no Pisces are ever alike. But you know, the rising you have is just so powerful. So I'll get into that in a little bit. But finishing my tip, you know, the tree that allows all its leaves to be picked, some quote, some quote, some quote. What is it? The tree who whose leaves are all picked has nothing left to give or something. So, you know, you as a tree, by saying no and having very firm boundaries, which is what your North Node, which represents your destiny, this quest, is asking. You're giving yourself that chance to have a full life, right? Like the universal law that states that you're only able you're only able to take in new energy, new people, new anything when you allow yourself room for it, right? My first soda in probably 2 months. Like some kind of cola that's made with plants that tastes good. It's crazy. But yeah. So that is my biggest tip for Pisces people is like that, and then find your passions, find the things you really love. Um Hopefully you're choosing soul over ego. Pisces can have hurt egos. Anyone can have hurt egos, but Pisces most definitely can. And it's rough. And sometimes, Pisces, Cancers, water signs will go out and allow their whole lives to be like them proving people who don't even matter wrong. You know what I mean? So, yeah, just I think meditation and grounding is so important, because you have no earth, no earth inner personal planets. Like I don't either, and I'm a Pisces too. And when you don't have any earth, any Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, it's so difficult to feel like the same version of you every day, waking up one day and just feeling like fuck, especially with Neptune with the moon and Mercury, which is over now. But that's why the Pisces need to choose wisely with what they're doing with their life, right? Because um, I've been going through a crazy time this month, right? It's better now. Hopefully it stays this way. But I just could not possibly work. Like I mean, yeah, anything is possible, but like, there's times like Pisces are just it's just like we especially you with your Pisces moon, like we just have it very tough. And I'm not trying to be like victim. I'm just saying like
it's a lot easier to live in this world as someone that doesn't feel things so deeply, that doesn't feel the suffering of the world, that doesn't feel all these intense energies. So yeah, that's another tip. We're still on. It just turned off. Okay, that was really weird. Why did I just do that? Hold on. Yeah. So now the fact that your sun is close to the vertex, it's really stating that, and then that your black moon Lilith is in Pisces. To me, this is a very interesting thing because it's showing that the it's literally like two different points. One is the doorway to higher awareness. It's like kind of the high, it's conjunct your sun. So there's a lot of fate connected with other Pisces too. But there's this level of, all being in the fifth house of like the high vibe of Pisces being your doorway to higher awareness, but then you having the potential, and this is a clue to the past life energy, right? The potential for having the low energy of Pisces. So you follow me there? So your highest evolution, of course, it's wisdom, right? It's spiritual and mystical wisdom, Pisces, which you find through being with the fifth house, which is Leo, which is creativity, authentic self-expression. So that's tip number 3. Find, it's so important for you to have ways where you're finding things that help you believe in yourself. And I don't know where you're at on that path. Um, I've never looked at a photo of you. I have no idea what you look like. I make sure to remember to forget everything about every client by the time I come around to them, so I can give a completely objective reading just based off the information in the chart. But fifth house stellium like that, it's really, really, really about this lifetime being a very, very important one for you finding your creative self. So when I say that, I'm speaking in contrast to the conditioned self, right? There's so much conditioning in society, and sometimes that's an issue for Pisces because Pisces want to fit in. Um, and on a level, Pisces is mutable. It goes with the flow, and it wants to experience a lot. And even though it's a water sign, Pisces are just interesting. They're just different. So the high vibe of Pisces would be that deep service, that deep compassion, really, really finding meaning, finding the self through not just what you do, but who you are. And that's how a lot of Pisces find that identity, right? The low Pisces, right, and this is more connected to your Mercury and your Moon and squaring the nodes, is that potential for all those things I mentioned earlier, for not believing in the self. Also, that's another one. Another one with the low Pisces is like having all these big dreams and ideals, but not. And that's why the opposite sign Virgo is so important, because Virgo, you always want to look at if you have a ton of energy in one, even if you don't, but especially if you have a ton of energy in one sign, you want to look at the opposite sign because it's the same energy, and it often it's called the polarity point. It offers the antidote, right? So Virgo is saying, okay, Pisces, you have all these great ideas, you have all these, these amazing ideas, right? But you don't have the kind of you know, the play by play, the step by step to get there. So often Pisces will have all these ideas, but then it's like, all right, I give up. They give up too easily on themselves. Virgo, on the other hand, you know, they obviously need to borrow like the because Pisces is great with blind faith, but you can see how that can go wrong, right? If you have so much blind faith, um, sometimes it's too blind, and sometimes it becomes naive, and that's one of the low parts of Pisces. Which, by the way, I hope you know, like my style of astrology. Like, everything is a potential. So everything I'm telling you, I'm not saying how you are. The follow up will determine that. This isn't showing you how you've used your free will in this lifetime. Um, all I'm saying, why do you move my computer? All I am saying is, hold up. Where are you? Hold on. All right. Maybe I'll go back with some microphone time. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, it's clearly what just happened. So it's clearly okay, it's perfect. That's weird. It's just not making this normal noise in my headphones, but whatever. Um yeah, so everything here, it's painting that photo that in past lives there could have been it could have been someone who, stuck to, you know, people in their early like in this life you're meant to meet a lot of people. That's your highest destiny. To travel, to see different cultures, to have friends who believe in different things or who have different philosophical backgrounds, and to really improve your idea of truth, right? That is the goal. Um and in doing so, to form a very, very strong basis for yourself. Um so yeah. So let's see. Another thing about, you know, the square with the moon is, as I was saying earlier, I think that it's something with how you might relate to yourself, and we see that with some of these difficult Venus aspects, which we'll get into. Um, that's typically what it means. That's typically what it means. Um, mm, so yeah, so I think that like it's just so easy, you know. It's so easy to, as a Pisces, to get in bad relationships and, just see potential with partners, as opposed to, the correct situation, the accurate situation at hand. Um and yeah, the Venus is squaring Uranus and Neptune, which is interesting, in Aries. And then you've got that Venus trine Chiron. Very interesting. Um, what else about Pisces? House. Yeah, so the whole outlet thing I was saying, important, but that can take so many forms. The way I look at that more is that, like, from a very, very zoomed out karmic perspective, it's like the past life tendency is around, it's like the person who stays in their hometown, who kind of is friends with the people they're friends with. They might be very chatty, um, but because of the ideas, and this is with the square Mercury, because of the ideas that they have about what they think is possible, and this is what you still have in this lifetime, right? Some version of this, because of the ideas of what they think is possible, for them in this lifetime. Let's go back to the screen, the chart. Because of the ideas that they believe, what they believe is possible for them in this lifetime, there's that tendency to this to to sell themselves short. So self-limiting beliefs can be very, very, very unconscious, right? Um, it can be about different unresolved issues in the mental life of the individual, like even like overly rigid thinking, like being very, because in this case, because it is Gemini as a south node, which does represent at a lower energy. It's a mix of Gemini, and then it's ruled by Mercury in Pisces. One other thing. Oh yeah, this is something I wanted to add. This is probably what I was scratching my head about earlier, metaphorically. Um, so with Mercury and Pisces, it's a beautiful placement, in the sense that you are connected to other realms, and because it's connected to your moon, you are literally a channel. Uh, you are literally a channel. I don't see this much, especially 0.01 separation. That's the closest it can possibly be besides being touching. It's essentially touching. Um, Now those two archetypes as skip steps. The first is not thinking big enough, not allowing yourself to think big enough. It could be from like karmic shame, um, certain incarnation patterns in certain people that trigger certain energies. Um, it could be just like a thought pattern that lacks discrimination and kind of takes on like material that doesn't really fucking matter. But I always look at it as like, like overly critical kind of self-thinking that really undermines the strength of the personality, and it could also be internalized guilt, internalized shame that's not actually yours. So that's one thing with the Mercury in Pisces is like taking on thoughts, taking on ideas that are not yours. So that's why the need to be alone is so massive, because then when you add the emotions there, it takes on the form of, like having the big potential of having taken on emotions from, let's say, mom or dad or just anyone, or when in your formative years that weren't yours, you know, and it can be like around the Saturn return or later that some people like realize like shit, like I've been thinking that like this shame I felt was mine, but really it's my mom's. Or really, it's just something that that runs in my family. Um, we all have shit in our family. I don't care who. I don't care how perfect. Like I've known a lot of people that kind of paint that picture of perfection. You know, I grew up with people like that, and I know for a fact that they are not like that. So you know, alone time, major, and you got Jupiter in 12th house. So in your Scorpio, Pluto ascendant. So this is that spiritual protection and that well of optimism that you can really, really dig into when you're alone, and the ability to come to deep, deep, deep realizations about the zeitgeist, about the collective unconscious, and all these things when you're alone. But I really think it makes it so alone time and time in the other realms, in the dream realm, and these other places can be some of the most rewarding and bring you back some of the most amazing stuff. Now, there is a big Leonic wound. So Chiron and Leo on the midheaven, and I'll get back to some of this stuff, but I want to speak on this because it's really important. This is speaking to someone who didn't get the chance to, most likely did not get the chance in some way to be a kid, fully be a kid. So when the Leo archetype is skipped for someone, they need to go back and they need to find ways. And that's why all your sun, your moon, your Mercury, it's all in the fifth house because you're meant, and this goes for your relationships, friendships. You need to be around people who you can be goofy around, who you can be in your creative self. When I say creative self, I don't mean like who you're going to hang out with and just paint. I mean, that'd be dope, but you know, who you can have fun with. And I feel like people are at their most creative when they can just have fun and just speak freely. So avoid groups that another tip, and avoid groups or relationships that push you away from your authentic self, right? And a lot of people have a lot of trouble with this. Keeping up with the Joneses culture, reputation, fuck reputation. I mean, in that sense, like a fake reputation. Obviously it matters. But yeah. So um so the Chiron healing journey is, it's also in the 10th, it's on the 10th house midheaven. So, there's also this part of it that there could have been something that happened early on that, it's almost like there could have been like some kind of public embarrassment or some kind of scar that, happened publicly, maybe high school, or I don't fucking know. Whatever it was, um, it's something that's meant to be overcome around one's ability to feel like they can project themselves fully forward in the um in the real world. So that's super important. So the more inner child work you do, however you do that, the more you open up this energy. And one great way to do that is working with kids. Having kids could be a big part of your life purpose. Fifth house is about that too. Um, but the more you smile, the more you laugh, the better. Now, also, I want to say that because your Mercury and your Moon are 22 degrees, which is a very important number in degree theory, one of the only ones I really will talk about, 0 to 22 or 10 or 29. That definitely speaks to it definitely speaks to the Saturn return, this current time being one where you're going to really, really, especially after that Neptune transit, really, really overcome a lot of your real deep shit, your real deep problems. So power to that. But continuing, you have some very amazing aspects, right? You have like some more super psychic aspects with Uranus and Neptune sextiling these two babies. So now your moon and your Mercury, your mind and your emotions that really creates your intuitive sense where you have that connection between the two. A lot of, you can look at the moon also as like the intuition in this case, are linked to literally the two planets linked to intuition the most. So this is very likely like someone who has, and like I say, I will say it more than once. I believe personally that these energies are like muscles. You can be born with great genetics as an athlete, for example. If you don't have the muscles, or if you don't have the work ethic and the belief, you're not going to be shit. But you might be predisposed to have these amazing qualities, but you have to have that belief. And that's where this Mercury square the nodes comes in. You see? So, you have to learn to believe in yourself if you haven't already. Believe in the magical. You have to believe in the magical. Believing in the magical, believing in in the other realms. This is the key. This is one of the keys. And sometimes with that kind of Chiron journey, you see any planet on the MC is related to what you could be doing for a career. So, you know, Chiron there in Leo, it means that you could easily have a life where you go through, this deep, deep, deep healing around learning to be your authentic self, learning to let go, learning to have fun, learning to smile, learning to just live life and laugh and all that, and be creative and open up those gates, right? And then you're able to teach other people to do that, overcoming fear of putting yourself out there, fear of confidence issues, right? So much stuff. Now, it's interesting, let me think, where do I want to go? Yeah, so with the rising, Pluto Scorpio rising, I've had a few of these lately. Scorpio rising already when it walks into a room, it's like it has an energy that is very intelligent, and people sense this real intensity, this real magnetism. So it might not say much all the time, but you do have a trine with Mercury and a trine with the moon, and a lot of stuff that like that. But then square Saturn, so I don't know, maybe there's a mix, but there is Pluto there. But the square of Saturn would usually make someone more reserved, but then the trine with the moon and with Mercury would have the opposite effect. So there might be some give and take there. I'm not sure. But what matters is that, when you have Pluto rising, it really brings up this idea of ego versus soul. Ego versus soul. Which one are you, are you going to go for what the ego wants, or are you going to go for what the soul needs in your life? Right. And one thing with Pisces too is idolizing people. Thinking other people know better than them. And oftentimes, because we live in a fucking logical world where intuition is pushed away, Pisces, you know, will kind of get gaslit into not believing in their intuitions, right? They can get gaslit into not believing in their intuitions and, instead believing so yeah, they can get gaslit into like, oh, you're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. Blah blah blah, stuff like that. So, a big thing for Pisces is like, shifting from, knowing the difference between, when they're over idealizing, when they're in their imagination, and when they're in their real self. But having that Scorpio rising with Pluto is going to make someone with all this Pisces way less of a pushover. The potential for being a pushover is way decreased, because that gives out a do not fuck with me energy. And it makes someone a very powerful leader, someone who is meant to be a force to be reckoned with. But the first, lesson that has to be learned is saying no, and is understanding these things I'm going to repeat, that you have gifts, and you're trying to be an adventurer, you're trying to be a philosopher, you're trying to be a teacher, you're trying to really really, and that requires life experiences, and it requires a high level of individuals around you. Mars and Cancer. Mars and Cancer people have a hard time escaping their family, even if their family's bad. Sometimes Mars and Cancer, they can be some of the best people. Like my mom has that. Or wait, no, she has Mars and Pisces, Venus and Cancer. But yeah, like it's very empathetic, and it makes one very, very about service. They will literally go to um, you know, hell and beyond for a cause that they care in, and so forth. Cancer rules the family, and it rules what we care about deepest. So that's kind of why they will defend that, like they will be very, very, very defensive, or they will defend their parent, their family a lot. But sometimes you have to sometimes it can be like, sometimes like when they have families that take advantage of that kindness, or they have families that can do that. um so the way I see it with your chart, like I said, there's not any hard aspects with sun or moon, so usually that's like a good thing for the parents. But I've seen so much shit that I've stopped making claims about parents. um but usually, like a new moon, sun and moon, the same sign, is usually a good sign for the parents, that for their relationship together. And then there's not many hard aspects. There's none besides the square with the moon. But I relate the north node square with the moon to be more around emotional patterns from past lives that you have to get past. um and I really think that it's about deepening your life experience, you know and going towards more like taking all your past life gifts, because the nodes are trining and sextiling a lot of planets. They've got that trine with Venus, that trine with Jupiter, trine with Saturn, Chiron trine. So you've been a past life healer. You've been someone who's been had that boss energy, and you've been someone who's been very, very philosophical and very you know the Jupiter one is interesting. um where is it? Yeah, right there. Yeah, the Jupiter one's interesting, because it rules your north node, which your north node is your mountain never climbed that you're trying to climb in this incarnation. So that being in the 12th in Libra, it's really through balanced spiritual relationship, or balanced spiritual internal insights, right? Also through the right types of relationships and the right types of diplomacy and communication, that you get to your greatest goals. In terms of you as a communicator, now, just like your moon has only good aspects, Mercury, which is at the same position, does as well. This is fascinating. So you're equipped with, Pluto trining both. So you're extremely resourceful. You're someone who, when you get into something, you can go obsessive mode, right? Um, like very, very good leader, like I said earlier. Lots of intensity to you as well, and really a strong understanding of what motivates people on a deep level. It could be something that like a politician would have, right? And like I said, people notice you when you're around, which is great for a very Piscean people. Um, Someone who makes this impact on their surroundings, whether they talk or they don't talk. Um, hmm, yeah. So with the moon, or with the Mercury, excuse me, with Uranus, it can make a kid that's very, very intelligent early on, but it's not the typical type of intelligence. And sometimes it's even ahead of their parents, and they feel misunderstood by their parents. Um, and then, with Mercury and Neptune, that's just like the ultimate imagination, very daydreamy, but like super inspired and creative mind. So it's like a very creative, a very fast paced and outside the box thinking mind. And then a mind that's very, very linked with you know, it's the emotional nature in the mind are very linked, and the intuition is so on point. And someone who can really speak with emotion and link their speech and their emotion are very linked. They speak with a certain feeling to them that's very nurturing, very healing, and they can really sense other people's thoughts, other people's feelings. So they're really, really good typically at having, emotional conversations. But then we look and we see, okay, you have Jupiter and Libra, that's a middle planet. You have, nothing in any air planet, any air signs either. So when you lack air, here's another tip: do breath work. Do breath work. Um, that's huge. That is massive, massive, massive. But when like lacking air, it can make you lack perception of how some or perspective, excuse me, of how someone else, how their reality is, so you have to kind of go the extra mile to to gain that true understanding, or else it can be really tough. So um so yeah, that's another aspect of it. But because you have your south node in air, um it could be the case that you've conquered that element of life. And I've heard this a lot with people who have their south node, which is the been there, done that in past lives, the tendency that you've had enough of that, but you've mastered it. So you're trying to take that and learn and use that to get to your north node, which in this case, it's using the lower mind to get to the higher mind. It's time to not spread yourself too thin and be too scattered with what you learn. It's time to really take what you learn and create larger philosophies out of them. So that's one thing I really like about your Mars. It's in the ninth house. The ninth house is the area of life associated with Sagittarius, your north node, right? So that will make someone more driven to go travel, and to go on these explorations, and to really like that drive towards truth. Um, Now, yeah, very adventurous. But then the thing with Cancer, it can make it so you in your travels, or maybe like moving to foreign countries or whatever, but you'll still want to. You might be someone who wants to like, and you're from Venezuela. I don't know where you live, but it could be someone who wants to like create to feel home. Like I have this, like I like when I travel, I want to be comfortable. I want to feel like I'm at home somewhere else. I want to have a nice place. I want it to have a lot of the things I have at home, but just be in a different place. I don't just want this complete, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, and it can give you a real emotional attachment to the places you go and to the philosophies you learn. And, really, really give you that deep drive to go study and want to learn more and really, really want to build your knowledge, which is great. But yeah, I think that the fact that the 12th house, you have so much Pisces, 12th house Jupiter rules your north node. To me, that's just a sign that the spiritual realm and the realm of service to other humans is where you find a lot of your highest purpose, and where you find a real internal value and self-esteem. Now, speaking of that, let's talk about love. Yeah. Well, actually, really quickly with the Black Moon Lilith and Pisces, I always look at that as, uh, I've given you so many of the potential low Pisces energy stuff. Um, I always think another part of it is not accepting the emotional side of the nature, because Black Moon Lilith is not a planet; it's just a potential. You at your lowest, how you can kind of like self-sabotage. So some people with Black Moon, with all this Pisces and Black Moon Lilith there, they can shy away from deep connections with others, um, because it's just so much and they feel so much that they almost can shut down their emotional side. So it's really important to go into that. It's really important to really go into that. Um, trying to get this. Ooh, that's nice. So yeah, the fact that Pluto rules your chart and it's rising makes it even more strong. It makes you very Plutonian. And Plutonian is about death, rebirth, transformation. So, a part of your life is about allowing yourself to die, which is surrender. And that's the whole ego versus soul battle, is about surrender and allowing that surrender to just happen. You see? Also, one other thing, if you looked at this in Placis, you'd have a seventh house south node and a first house north node. So, how would that shift things? Well, that would make it so, and like it would kind of go with what I'm saying, anyways. It would be like, the only thing I would change would be like, all right, there's too much of a tendency for you to stay too close to home and past lives because of relationships, partnerships that keep you down. So in this life, it's really meant for you to be independent, not like you're meant to be single. You will South Node, seventh house, you will have lots of karmic partners in past lives, but it's very, very, very key for you to be happy alone and for you to, because in order for you to truly adventure, or for to pick a partner that does not, where there's lots of freedom in the relationship. So let me get into that real quick. Relationship stuff. So Venus is in Aries, so that speaks to that too. It's conjunct Aries, so relationships can be an area. You might be the kind of, it's fucking insane how many of my female clients have Venus in Aries. Like at this point, it's been probably 75% the last 20 readings or so. It's insane. It's like everyone. I should count. But first of all, sixth house Venus, you love pets. You love pets. Pets are very healing for you. Very, very good for you. And that's a great placement. I already like that alone. I like sixth house Venus people because they love it. They love cats. Esme, 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 come here. Psst, 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 psst. Esme, come here, baby. Come help me with my chart. Come on, Esme. You said you'd work earlier. Esme, 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 Esme. Oh my God. Ignore me then. So yeah, with the North Node first house, yeah, like about independence, about finding yourself, about adventure. Either way, they make sense. But okay, so Venus and Aries, go getter in love. Once they get the individual, they're pretty happy. They can be quite fiery with the people they like, but then once they get that person, they want a level of independence, and they can be pretty anti-clingy. Now, Pisces has to be really careful in relationships. They need to spend time alone because they can literally meld with the other person. Like my client earlier that I was talking to, she was like, yeah, like, um, I'm not gonna get into like her details, but she basically like ended a relationship recently, and she described it as like she was just like meld, like kind of merging with the other person to a point that it was going against her greatest needs. And then she broke up, and now she's working out and remember, oh, I love working out. Oh, I love doing this. Oh, I love doing that. That was so healthy. So it's stuff like that. And sometimes it's unconscious to Pisces because sometimes they want to be, they can be indecisive. And Mars also in Cancer, one thing about that is that sometimes there can be like a another thing about Black Lilith in Pisces is that, and with Mars and Cancer, is that there can be sometimes difficulty with being assertive with that much water, um, and lacking fire too. Like yeah, you have the Venus, but Venus in Aries is not like going to be that big, crazy, and that yeah, so you pretty much only have water. Um, and when you lack fire, you can lack that passion to just get up and go and just like, ooh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. So you're clearly very, very much a healer, but you're trying to lean into fire. So it's important for you to find things that really, really get you going. And that comes from a place of the soul gets lit up by by these things. And there's only for a lot of people, there's only a few things that truly has that effect on, right? And people who have a lot of fire and nothing else, they can start a million things, but then they don't truly have that passion for it. So, um, okay. So basically, you're at your best when you're having like a spiritual, when you're deep into the shadow work and into the spiritual relationship with yourself. When you're being very independent in your life and you're very anti-codependent. Now, Jupiter and Libra also one factor there is that it can make you very like really, really expand a lot when you're in healthy relationships. Come on, Esmond. Come on, Esmond. Help me in this chart. Esmond. 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 More with love before I go into those aspects. Juno is with Cancer. So Cancer Mars. So ninth house. So another thing about ninth house, Juno and Mars, like you could be attracted to someone from a foreign country, different than your culture. Um, it could be on your adventures that you meet someone. Um, and Juno and Cancer people, they want that security. They want that their partner to have that level of security. They want their partner to have that level of excuse me of emotional security, but also just life security, and not financial in like a gold digging term, but they want the partner to have their shit together, and also to have like a philosophical, like some philosophical background where it's entertaining, interesting to talk to them. So yeah, with the Venus aspects, yeah. So there's a T square going on here. Is there? Yeah. Also, it can make the square with Venus and Mars can make someone a little bit um, impatient with their partners. So that's one thing with the Eris on your Venus that can definitely be a thing too. Um, so yeah. So obviously, having all that Pisces, it's not necessarily about like, okay, I need someone that also has so much water. Obviously, it's good to have someone that understands. Like, I think with people who have a lot of water, myself included, it's been difficult in my life dating girls who have like no water. I don't know. It's almost like it's just like a different game. It's like the water tribe. Um, you know, the water tribe just things just make sense. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry. So yeah. I think that overall though, it's important to feel like that you have space in relationships, but then it's also like Pisces energy. They just need good people. Like that's all I can say. They need good people that aren't taking advantage of them, that understand that they're sensitive souls, that they're angels. Um, Even if they're hurt, like they're angels. And so with your Venus energy, right? So um you have to absolutely watch out for relationships, for the wrong types of people, because you have Venus square Neptune and you are a super Pisces. So that is the ultimate aspect of someone who has rose colored glasses in love, and you know can they can like see someone as their wife or husband, wife, whatever, and then before they know it, like it's just gone bad. So it's really important to take things slow. One thing about that aspect is that by being of service, it removes some of that fog, because Venus is ultimately how you love the self, and that is very, very linked to identity crisis. Um, and just it creates a level of fog over how one values themselves, and then over how one values and sees other people. right? So having like also a friend, and also with a bunch of Pisces or Neptune is ruled by, it rules video cameras. So if you film yourself, vlog every day, you don't have to show anyone, or use mirrors, also rules mirrors, talk about your emotions and stuff. Um, that is a trick that I have tested with many people and it's worked. So, and I have your email here. I mean, I've read it before, but I want to like break it down to where it's like, and we can talk about some of the stuff in the follow up too, Um, but I want to make sure that I cover all of them. So, okay. So yeah, with the health stuff, well, I guess, did you mention relationships? Yeah, you did. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Is that in terms of karmic placements, yeah, so the moon one's really important. Okay, let's go back to shared. What the fuck? What the fuck did I do? What the fuck did I do? What the fuck did I do? So yeah, like basically, with this, it just makes it really, really important, to take time and all that. So with Uranus, so this is what's really, really interesting, right? And this could be a psychological split in the chart, is that the Pisces wants really, really deep romance and closeness, but Venus in Aries, square Uranus, is someone who can get bored really fast. So there has to be a very deep intellectual connection or lots of space, or they can start to feel like they're kind of like encaged when a relationship gets clingy. So it can kind of go back and forth. So it's very, very interesting on the relationship front, how you lean into both of that. And then on top of that, you cannot be with someone who's just very surface level. Like they need to be moving in at least not prohibiting you from being independent, right? You have to be independent. Um, you've had enough lifetimes where you've been very relationship oriented, and it's held you back. So really quick about the moon square nodes, a little bit more about that. It's also usually around the family of origin, but I don't see any hard aspects, but usually that's what it is, usually the mother, or even just women in general. But yeah, it's a lot of like stuff with the emotional body. So it's like you brought in karmic unresolved material, you know, usually around like different insecurities in the personality. There can be lots of projection, um, you know, um, like projecting like the experience of security, of happiness, like outside of the self, like onto the family, onto partners, stuff like that, which can be problematic. Um, Sometimes with the moon square, there's like unresolved gender issues from past lives. So there can be like a dissatisfaction, like gender roles, stuff like that. Um, you know, like lots of anger with like the whole suppression of the feminine society. But yeah, it could be one of those things where there's like a potential gender change. But a lot of times I just think of it as like karmic emotional pain and whatnot that's kind of brought over from a recent incarnation. And from what I gather, it's like all this potential, like crazy potential, but just not, and this is life to get it, but there's a requirement of independence to do that. um so yeah, what else can I say about that? Yeah, there's just this big need to I love this, by the way. I love this. Um, you said Mars aspects. I mean, obviously Mars is, so there's lots of energy around, you know, like you definitely have like a real level of firepower. When it comes to really, really getting to where you want to get. Um, it's just that drive, but it's water, so it's very niche. But I think creativity is such an important thing for you. Pisces also rules like being on camera. So, like I said before, but it also rules like, like entertainment, the arts, stuff like that, poetry, so many things, music, all that stuff. But I think, the Mars and the Black Moon Loaf could speak to someone who really, really wants to defend causes they believe in, and I saw lots of leadership energy there. It's not making any aspects with Juno, that just gives like a push towards wanting that person. You're probably wondering, like, wow, all these house places are different because you said eighth house Mars, I do whole sign. It's different. To me, it works a lot better. Well, they both work great, but if you want, we can talk about Placidus. We can talk about things in Placidus, but you'll see that with whole sign and Placidus, you can get this. You can get I could do back-to-back readings with both. It'll be similar. The end result, it's very, very fascinating. But yeah, I used to do Placidus or coach, but same thing, very similar. But I moved. Um, all right, yeah, and then interesting, you have Vesta with your Neptune and Uranus. So, but it's so basically, um, like having Vesta with Uranus, it just makes you really, really care about humanity, and you want to work in a way, um, that helps like bring balance to the community, the global community. Very strong spiritual convictions. You know, um, it just makes you once again really, really care for causes. And with Neptune, it's similar, right? But there's that level of wanting to work in order to help the world, and really, really valuing and putting your drive into that, and commitment into compassion and love, and unconditional love. So, Vesta in the third and Cap, that's just like that commitment to clear communication, to truth, really being able to see things clearly. With Invest in Capricorn, I see that a lot with my clients. I think that is someone who is, very ambitious, very good discipline, who can really succeed in this material world if they, in ways that if they need to. Saturn being on the IC, super important. I didn't mention that. That speaks to that there's something with a childhood. That's a very karmic placement, and that's speaking to um, feeling very restricted early on. And it's something that needs to get, there could have been like a very serious energy in the household early on. That kind of makes it, that actually relates perfectly to your Chiron in Leo, right? Because people with that usually had like early responsibilities in their life when they're young, which made it, maybe they had to like step up for one of their um, you know, family members, like a parent that wasn't, pulling their weight, or something happened with the parent. It's all kinds of things. But a lot of times it's like just not feeling that support from the parents, which did, made it difficult to like a firm footing. Um, so yeah, just not feeling that real, yeah, that real like ability to just flow and just go. A lot of times it's kind of strict parents, and yeah, I think that it's very significant, and it just makes you learn very important karmic lessons very early on. Also, if you do not live where you were born, if you're on a different longitude, is that longitude? I'll never know that. I've accepted. I will never know. Um, it isn't. I mean, I don't. I think you live in America. I'm not sure, but I have different people from Venezuela, so it's hard to remember. I know a lot of Venezuelans are in Miami. I know so many, but Yeah. My eyes really red. Not that bad. They look completely bad here. But yeah, so it's all about not holding on to the past, learning love, learning to let go of things, and it makes one really want to build a firm foundation. But it's important astrocartography wise for them to get away from where they're born, because then you go on that Saturn IC line, a little astrocartography for you. So yeah, creativity is where it's at. Being in your inner child is where it's at. So you need to be in relationships that have that as well. Also, success Venus, there's lots of karma in your relationships, different imbalances from past lives where you have to kind of make things right. And the right relationships will come at the right times. You just have to have faith. And then with the third house, Neptune and Uranus, like that, all those by themselves, those are people who are such original thinkers. They have such vivid imaginations. When they write, it's just magic. They can literally get like create the most amazing things if they're able to open those energies up, those energy centers. Um, yeah, so you mentioned addictive behaviors, like I didn't even see that, or like I didn't, it wasn't, I think that part missed my brain, but yeah, like that, Pisces, like I said, they want to escape, like, so it's all about finding the healthy escapes. And by not having the earth, that makes you need to find the solid routines that can nourish you on the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, daily level. And having Venus in the sixth house helps that a lot. Um, it helps that a lot. It makes it so your daily routines are, it adds a lot of good energy to that. And it's good for like very nice working conditions too. So yeah, Ceres fifth, Pisces, nurtured by creativity, nurtured by the inner child. It's just kind of like your second moon, but way less important. Um, and yeah, just like feeling that nurturing, that deep soul nurturing when you feel that oneness with the world, and when you're able to relieve people of their pain and really feel that deep compassion and that, yeah, like connection with all that is. And then Pallas, the fourth final of the major asteroids in Aquarius, fourth house. Pallas in Aquarius is a genius placement. It just is conjunct Saturn, so that's like memory mixed with like the third eye type of intelligence. I like that. It's good for intelligence for sure. So that's just, yeah, it can give like a very ahead of the time, already having Uranus in its position, very ahead of the time kind of mindset, or very original ideas. Not someone who's just a copycat, someone who thinks for themselves and can be very entrepreneurial as well, very humanitarian as well with their ideas and their kind of leanings. But yeah, Palace in the fourth house, a lot of times it's like the family rejected the creativity, and yeah, but at the same time, as you grow older, you want to have a very solid home environment where you can like express your true creativity, whether it's through working at home, or home is supposed to be fourth house rule by Aquarius. It's supposed to be um a place where your full Uranian genius side can come out. So I think the Mars and Cancer will, it can really make someone want to be there, want to like work from home or something. So you asked about challenging to work fully independently. Is there potential to thrive on my own? Well, look, I mean, I think like if you were asking me what should I do career wise, um, anything that brings you that feeling, like, so let's say you're working as a psychologist or a therapist or a coach or something like that. Um, you know, like for example, that raises your worldview because you have to meet people from different cultures. You really get to see like the insides of people, like really understand people on a deeper level, and it increases your worldview because you have to hear people's deeper experiences. It's a deep method of work. But then midheaven and Leo, that's someone, with Chiron there, you're meant to be a healer of some sort, right? um but that's someone who can really, who wants power through their career, who wants to really really be uh, you know, someone to be messed with in their career. So like if I like, and then not having Earth, I think that just makes it hard to, people who have a lot of Earth, they have that ability to just like, maybe some of them lack creativity, not all of them, but you know, what you have in creativity and imagination, inspiration and compassion, they might have in consistency of being able to wake up each day and be very consistent. So, most Pisces people are kind of at a disadvantage there. So it's like, how do you align your life to really, like an artist, to really fit you at your best? You know what I mean? But I love that Mars is connected to, wait, hold up. What the fuck am I talking about? I was talking about Venus is connected to Chiron. That's what I meant. Because that is a great placement. Really, really great placement. It makes one just a very gifted healer, gifted teacher, someone who knows like what to say at the right moments. Very good for empathy, seeing like, and this is like where your Pisces gifts come to, like, also, it's very good for like healing psychological wounds, right? But this mixed with your Pisces, it's like you have this ability, like as a healer. I don't care what anyone says. If you are a healer and you look at someone in your mind, you have like some kind of ego, and you're like, oh, that person's fucked. Like, it's like 60% of the healing is taking place, like, within the therapeutic relationship, you know? So, um, yeah, like that's massive. But I understand what I'm giving, like career advice, like, people, especially if you live in America, you know, it's not everyone that just has a choice, like, oh, I can take all these years off, needed to study this. You know what I mean? It's not like that, right? The world, it's so fucking expensive living in this world, and um so I get it. Um with love stuff too, Saturn squaring this the Senate, that's also gonna potentially, it kind of just says that, like, until you really go deep into childhood and heal the Saturn issue, whatever that is, the stuff I talked about earlier, um like that can have an effect on your relationships, on your self-confidence, and on your full advancement is in your career, whether that's a healer or not. Okay, let's pop these open. And then, oh yeah, Mars is also square Jupiter. That's just about self-discipline and not being like impulsive, just how, like, being like overly, and that goes with Pisces too, how being overly exuberant can have like a negative effect on career. All right, let's see what I see. So I only look at like the exact conjunctions. Um, okay. Yeah, I mean, you got Karma asteroid conjunct the ascendant. So I'm just gonna like find the ones first. Yep. Fomalhaut conjunct Sun. They're separated by less than a degree, so it's not spot on, but there's definitely that real Fomalhautian. It's like the best degree of Pisces. Okay. Okay. Aphrodite conjunct Moon and Mercury. So Aphrodite is like just princess energy. Um, so that's like amazing. Um, and having that with the moon, it just gives like a very, very and you have lust on the IC. So, there's definitely a level of like lust is sexiness, Aphrodite is beauty. So having those two show up is really huge. And then like asteroid karma rising, that to me it's just showing like karma playing a very big role in your life. To be honest, I don't look at that one that much. um I kind of just look at it like that because a lot of the shit's bullshit that people talk about these fucking asteroids that don't matter. But that one I look at, I'm like, okay, well, it's on the ascendant. The ascendant squares Saturn, so there could be karma around that, around kind of like trying to get out of the material world and trying to get into like the real depths. So I think Aphrodite, being with the moon, it can just give like a very like beautiful internal emotional, it can make one feel like a princess. I don't know how else to say it. And Mercury can give like that nice way of talking. um Very eloquent. So the Markab, Algol, and Amor on the Descendant. So that's Amor on the Descendant is one of the best thing asteroids you can have for unconditional love. Like you can be someone who like, and then Algol is a little bit difficult, but on the Descendant, I think it just creates like the ability to really, really transmute, your relationships. So, yeah. And let's see, is it even under a degree? Oh, no. So Algol, you're safe. You're safe. So more, yeah, you just have the ability to really have this real deep, unconditional love for your partners. Even like where it's like the ones that the real karmic ones that like and just in general, like it just gives you that real, and that's very Piscean anyways. And Markab was with the moon. Yeah, it's a degree away, so it works. Um, so yeah, it makes one very good and very it's good for diplomacy, quick in speech. Um, but you gotta watch out for friends becoming enemies. But it's good for the mind. Um, and yeah, Eris with the Venus, that can just make very explosive relationships, volcanic. So there's a need to like really have that that earth down, that outlet, that grounding. All right, so there's nothing with that. Good heaven, very important. Is that Hydra? Ooh, look at you. Or Alphard. Not Hydra, Alphard. Hydra's 28. Why is it not on my list? And then what else is there? Okay, so that's the Hydra.
see what it says. Hydra astrology. Hydra's 28, I'm pretty sure. Why does it not say? Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's a code name for Alphard. I see. They're one and the same. Fixed star, Alphard, Alpha Hydra. Okay, that's why. So Hydra is on your midheaven, and you're gonna love this. It is one of the main in ancient Babylonian astrology is one of the main stars related to astrology. Um, although I'm a bit confused though because my understanding, I mean, I know it's a constellation, but I thought it was 28 Leo. Or it's not a so it's in Orion. Hmm. Well, whatevs. Wait, was that it? Okay. So yeah, Alphard, so it's really important, like the ascendant and the midheaven, two most important points for like the stars. So midheaven, with Alphard is just a great one for having a very splendid, illustrious life. It's very linked to success, and just lots of prosperity. It's a great one for business and it's a great one for leadership. It's also very good for physical health. And on that journey of success, getting help um, from older people through hard work. Okay, I just want to see one thing. And then you have Alkide on your ascendant, which is linked to also wealth, power, courage, generosity, ingenuity, rise to authority, um, lots of positive things. People like Walt Disney, Hugh Hefner, Emma Watson, Paul McCartney, they all have it within 1 degree. Dave Chappelle. That's a lot. That's a fucking good. Tiger Woods, Franklin Roosevelt, Alexei Navalny, Bruce Willis. That's a solid list. Like, damn. You got Brad Pitt, Elvis Presley, Kim K, who have it on their midheaven. So it's not bad. Not bad. Anyways, so yeah, get all the notes that you can down and let me know if you want to add the current astrology. I highly, highly recommend it. Um, so yeah, like it becomes, today my session was a little bit longer. It's like, 3.5 hours or so, but I try to keep it at 3. I've been trying to go shorter time. This is actually a very long reading for me now. But yeah, let me know. I would do it for a price reduction. I'd give you a good you just have to remind me, I'd give you like $50 off the regular price. So let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. And yeah, either way, you got the follow-up already, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you so much for being patient. I hope you enjoyed. Ciao.